So many of us self sabotage our success and we don't even talk about it. We stress ourselves out and we often deny it. Why? Let's find out with Harsh Bhushan, the executive coach. But first, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And while you do, ding the bell so that you're invited to every premiere that we have here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Three Questions. Today, I'm delighted to have Harsh Bhushan with us. Harsh is an executive coach, and he's been into behavioral training for years and years now. And while he has been conducting programs at the largest of companies, I have some questions for him on your behalf, especially the first one about self sabotage. Why, Harsh, do people self sabotage themselves, especially at senior levels where they're set for growth and poof, suddenly they're just not on the trajectory anymore?
Yeah, that's I think Sandeep, that's one of the things that's discussed lesser than it should be.
I believe so.
And I'm not sure, but my experience is that almost all of us do that at some point in time. Uh, some people do it more than others, but we do. All of us have, and I think I was answering a question yesterday on LinkedIn post, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Who is responsible for your failures in life or not making it to where you want to go in life? And I think the answer that I gave is me, because the most important thing is that we have to first identify the fact that we are the one who are the biggest opportunity and the biggest resource, and at the same time the biggest hurdle for us. We all do self-sabotage, and it's the same thing at the leadership level also. The primary reason, if you ask me, is uh, fear, and it comes in different forms, right? It just gets disguised in different forms to sort of confuse us in different ways. So there could be many fears, some that I have come across. One of my very first clients in coaching, I was speaking to, he said that he wanted a promotion, right? And was already a manager leading a bigger, reasonably good number of people. And he wanted promotion. So when you look for promotion, you are looking for, okay, do I have the skill? Do I have the talent? Do I have the number of years of experience? I think these are the popular ones that people look for, right? And there are those which are not common ones, right? And fortunately, unfortunately, that's where the opportunity of growth lies. The ones that you don't see, the ones that work operate from, hiding from somewhere. So a lot of discussion happened a few days, and he was not really very excited about the fact, because he had tried many different trainings and coachings, and it was a tough ask for me, because after 2.5 hours of discussion, and at that time I started doing 2.5 hours discussion first.
Mm-hmm.
Now it has reduced to 1 hour. Which is good. I can't imagine doing 2.5 hours of that.
I feel overwhelmed, yeah.
And he would come and say, I don't think it's working, Harsh. And so during the course of, I think, third or fourth day, when I noticed the breakthrough happening, that's when around that time, I figured out where the challenge is. So the person happened to be from, if I have to stereotype, and we have to stereotype just to say for the sake of understanding, came from a sort of traditional background. And when I checked with him, okay, so what are you looking for in terms of your growth? What is the organization looking for? He gave me all the job profile that's written. What I did figure out is, so I said, okay, how will the day look like for you when you get a promotion? And one of the things that he mentioned with a bit of pain, which I'm sure he wasn't aware of, was that one of my jobs will be hosting a lot of, social, semi-formal, semi-casual parties for my clients who come from different parts of India and other parts of the world. And he didn't feel comfortable talking about it, because he was an introvert person. And of course, the background, we all come from different background. That should be respected, but that should also be taken into account. And that was, for me, that was the moment when I could find out what part of him was, sort of pushing him to self-sabotage. He was really scared of doing that. Facing
Awesome.
people in social gatherings and sort of hosting, because you have to have a certain personality, and it's not a good or a bad thing, but it's just it's one thing that is required. A certain things, certain traits are required for you to be able to do that.
Right.
That one fear was holding him back. That one fear was making him miserable, right?
I completely, Harsh, you're giving me goosebumps right now, because you've just immediately taken me back to around 2004, 2005, when I was running a consulting company and I was extremely stressed because, it is all about wining, dining, and cash flows and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't like this whole idea of wining, dining, and stuff, but it was a kind of necessary thing to do. And now that you say that that is self sabotage, I discovered my way out of it through Vedic masters and energy work. But if only I had an executive coach like you at that point in time, I may still be in consulting.
So, I mean, it's
True.
surprising, isn't it? Those things that we and
And like you said right at the beginning, self sabotage is something that we really don't talk about because we brush it under the carpet because our ego comes in the way or whatever. We have to make an admission to ourselves about some fears that we are projecting.
yeah,
And another thing that gets brushed under the carpet so often and so sadly in the corporate world, which brings me to my second question, is stress. What kind of advice would you give to people working in corporates? And I know you've consulted to some of the largest names. I'd like people to just visit your LinkedIn profile to know that. How does an employee or a member of a team perform better without getting stressed?
so
What are the early signs there, and what should they be looking for?
So again, Sandeep, I think you will, and I'll pick up from where you left. Probably, just going back a few steps. Ego is a big challenge, right? Not accepting, and when I say that, it might appear that I don't have one. That's the challenge coaches will have or trainers will have when they're talking about these things. The people think that you don't have that. All of us face that, right? And when you grow certain to a certain level, we build an ego around ourselves that I don't have a pain point. I don't have fears. I'm not scared of anything. So that's one of the things about stress also, not accepting, to going to people and saying that I am not able to handle it, hurts the ego, right?
Mm.
And I think go with it. If even if it's hurting the ego, accept that it'll hurt the ego, but then find out who is the person where it is safe to express these things. It might not be safe everywhere. I don't know. I won't judge it for anybody else. So number one thing is accept that there is a stress. Number two, probably figure out who is the right person. Where the purpose is to find a solution. So
Mm.
who is the right person? Generally, and I might sound like selling here, but that's one thing coaches are supposed to do. Create a very healthy space around you where you feel comfortable sharing. You build a rapport, you build a trust, and you don't fake it, you sincerely do it so that whoever you're dealing with, whoever your client is, they feel comfortable, safe expressing their stress. So these two things, but keep an eye on the fact that you have a certain goal which you want to achieve. Everything that we are doing is for a purpose, right? All the journey has started towards an end. There is an end we are approaching, and there will be that end. We are not immortals, probably good. So that puts us in a state of hurry. That's one thing. I think another thing that comes to my mind, Sandeep, is, and I think you have I've seen your profile, really impressive, uh, about stress, and this is one of the biggest disease. I think the most important, the
Exactly.
cause of most of the diseases, probably, if my understanding goes right. But I feel that it's better to embrace a certain kind of stress to avoid the negative stress, and what I call is growth stress, what people call is positive stress,
You
right?
stress.
To
Mm.
sort of constantly learn something new. And I know it's a cliche to say that we live in a world that you have to keep learning, but deep within I believe that we have never lived in a world where you could survive without learning. Without
Mm-hmm.
learning, you have to constantly upgrade yourself. Keep learning whatever whatever is your journey, whatever takes you, moves you faster in your journey towards your purpose, whatever makes you healthier. Build yourself up every day, build your belief muscles, build your mental muscles. Mind is what gets, I think this is again, that connects with stress. Mind is what gets you everything. That's the only
True,
magic tool that gets you everything. But
true.
that's our biggest enemy. That has become our biggest enemy. That has always been our biggest enemy. And that's where the stress comes from. I think that's the birthing place for
So
stress.
it's actually because we don't know how to train the mind. The poor chap doesn't intend to be an enemy. It's just a
Yeah.
monkey. It's running all over the place, and it's up to us to do something about it.
Yeah, true, true. We don't do we sort of forget that very tool that gets us everything, and then that tool starts working against us and our dreams and our goals. And that's what comes to my mind. But
No,
I
what
would really like to hear from you if you have to like give me three, four things. What comes to your mind first?
what you've said, I was just making mental notes as you were saying them, and I think you have arrived at a formula for our viewers, and I will give that formula to you in the same words that you used. Remember ACE, ACE. A for accept that you have stress. C is check if there's somebody you can find as a coach or a confidant. And E is embrace the positive habits that are going to get you to change that. And I think that's a complete lesson in stress management in a matter of maybe half
Yeah,
a minute or something.
true, true, very true.
And there is a further link back to habit with something called purpose. And that brings me to my third question for you, Harsh, because you, I noticed, have set up something which is called the Purpose Initiative. So you're obviously very deep into that. What is exactly purpose and how do people find it?
Okay, so I'll just tell you a very small story around it, of how I came up with this name. So this was a time when I had left my job and I was sort of trying to figure out, and again, not a very healthy way of doing it, but I was trying to figure out what am I going to do. Obviously, I always knew that I'm going to do training of some sort. I don't want, and nothing negative about any other role, but I felt that that's one place where I completely gel into my role. So I was sitting in front of my desktop, and I had a very very long discussion. Just before that, I had a very long discussion with someone who was cribbing about everything around, you know, the life that this person was living, and and it's draining at times. Even when you try to
True.
help people, it can be draining. So that's also, we have to accept that at first and acknowledge that that also can happen. So I was sitting there listening, well, after being tired of trying to motivate someone, and I really needed my motivation. And I had just
I know
switched
what you're
on.
talking about.
I had just started Microsoft PowerPoint. And at the same time, this was running at the back of my mind. What am I going to do next? And I was thinking about what name will it have. And and suddenly I felt this insight that one of the reasons that people feel a lot of pain is because they don't know what's the purpose of their life, right? As long as I'm sure about my purpose, I finish my purpose and I move on. That was my purpose. I tried, did it. Fulfill your purpose, and that's the language I use for myself. I won't use it for anyone else, but I said, fulfill your purpose and push off. Otherwise, you will become a burden for this.
I'll tell you from my perspective of purpose. Uh, Purpose is what fuels our energy. You see, if you get up in the morning tired, you feel some aches and pains. There's a low of physical energy. That's probably because that's not the day when you have an assignment to finish, or a report to submit, or a meeting to go to, or a birthday party to arrange, or anything else of significance for that day. If you do, think about those days, the days where there is a talk that you have to deliver, or there's a new person to meet. That's the day you jump out of bed and you get ready, have breakfast, and off to the meeting you go. So where does that energy come from? It comes from that purpose. Now, I put this very, very simply because it's something that we all experience every other day in our lives. But there is a huge linkage. And likewise, when you develop purpose at a life level, your entire life and every micro unit of it is totally energized, and that is so healing. That is so um, you just take care of yourself at peak performance level. So that's what. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely agree with you on that, Sandeep. Absolutely. I think, like you said, if you can, one day if you're sitting and feeling miserable, and the very next day, just because you got a job to do, there's something that has to be fulfilled. The same person who was finding it difficult to move, can jump out of bed and uh, find energy within to
That's
do
right.
everything that was expected, just because of some external pressure or a purpose that has been given by externally.
Correct.
That's somewhere you have figured out a magic formula, right? And
No,
you can.
that energy within that you say is what I call inner power, and that inner power is what I've been working with for 15 years, thanks to all the training that I've been able to receive from Vedic gurus and energy masters all over the Orient. So
That
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 was that
sounds
was
so interesting to me to have a longer conversation with you.
we do that some other time. For now, we'll let the viewers of the three questions go, but not before you guys have done the LCSS. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And when you subscribe, don't forget to ding that bell so that you receive notifications of the next premiere that's coming on with another guest on three questions. Till then, thanks. Thanks a lot, Harsh, and thanks all of you for being here.
Thanks, indeed. Thank you very much.